Hey, I'm Cam from Gibsunday, and I recently had a conversation with a new friend, Ben from Electric Love. Ben reached out about a year ago and we connected, and we were talking about pedals, and he was telling me about what his company does. And when he did, I fell in love. It's not just a pedal company, but it's a pedal company with a mission, and one that I think that we can all get behind. Ben's company, Electric Love Pedals, takes all of his profit and donates it to cancer research. We all know and love someone who's been affected by cancer. So of course we want to eradicate this from the planet and be done with it forever. Well, thanks to Ben and his awesome work at Electric Love Pedals, you can now buy a guitar pedal and help support a very worthy cause. Just to give you a heads up, it gets heavy in the first couple of minutes, but it doesn't stay heavy. It's a really good conversation, and I just want you to know that even though it does kind of start there, it doesn't stay there, and it was a ton of fun getting to talk to Ben. Please check out his work on all social media at Electric Love Pedals. With that, let's get into it. $920D Custom is the industry-leading manufacturer of high-end guitar wiring harnesses, control plates, and loaded pickguards, and treats every build like it's going into their own guitars. $920D Custom overhauled two of my own guitars with new pickups, components, and wiring, so I knew firsthand just what they're capable of. Anytime someone is looking to enhance their tone, I recommend $920D Custom. So if you're looking to improve your tone, upgrade your components, or to simply try something new, check out the loaded pickguards, combo kits, pickups, and components at 920dcustom.com today. That's 920dcustom.com. So tell me how Electric Love got started. Tell me all about it.
Sure. So my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015.
Oh, man.
And so that was, she was 36. I was a little bit younger. We had a 2-year-old.
Nice.
So it was, kind of a realigning of worlds at that point. We get through that. And then 2017, my daughter gets a brain tumor.
Oh, man.
She had it, but we found it at that point.
Yeah.
So again, worlds, collide, everything resets. And, it was kind of after that moment that I realized I had to find something for myself.
Yeah.
Because, I'd seen too many other people, start drinking or start, doing things or breaking up or, just stuff
Sure.
that I didn't want to happen. So I had to try to find a positive outlet.
Yeah.
And, as a kid growing up, I, played the guitar a little bit, messed around a little bit, and kind of got back into it a little bit and decided, maybe that's a positive outlet. I didn't realize, guitar acquisition syndrome or any of the, the things that are associated with it.
You didn't grow up like in the music gear thing.
No.
You developed it
Yep.
as an adult.
Yes. Yep. So growing up, I didn't, my father had a guitar and an amp, and, being kids, we just were running out in the woods most of the time,
Sure.
came back at night
Yeah.
type of thing. So it wasn't until then that I decided to get back into it.
Yeah.
Or really dedicate time to it.
Sure.
As a positive outlet. So I started, I had the great idea, I'll build a guitar. How hard could it be? It's pretty hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it was.
Pretty impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's physics, it's math, it's all this. There's a lot more to it than It was a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
Then from there, I started building some guitar pedals, and I liked it because they weren't super expensive to make.
Yeah.
But they were creative,
Yeah.
and I found myself entering like a flow. Where you kind of everything kind of just goes into the background.
Hold on, you started making pedals. How did why? All right, so you realize, sorry, we got to go through this because you've already hit me with so much in 2 minutes. I was not expecting you to start there, first of all. So I want to back up a little bit. First, how are your wife and daughter?
They're very well, thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, we kind of
Oh, man.
jumped all over. No,
I didn't know how to ask that question, actually.
Very, very fortunate to have very good medical teams.
Okay, awesome.
And,
amazing.
We caught stuff relatively early.
Good.
My wife had chemo. She's still on stuff, but she's...
And with us.
Yes, she's with us, and she's far stronger than I am.
Yeah.
And my daughter, she has her moments, but she does fantastic. She's
awesome.
11 now, and
incredible.
loving life. So, yeah, sorry. Bring it back around to that.
Yeah. Okay, so as you're in this season, as you're going through this thing, you identify that there's an opportunity to spiral.
Absolutely, yeah. Because part of it is at the time, I know it's gotten a little bit better now, but everybody's very patient oriented, and the caregiver is forgotten.
Sure.
You're there to
totally right.
And so I kind of started to recognize that there's more to this.
Yeah.
And for me, for others out there, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that has had that type of thing happen and then have to move on. Yeah. And that's in addition to working my normal job, 40 plus hours a week. So we're trying to juggle everything and make sure that, their care is first and foremost. Yeah. There's definitely the obvious trauma of what their experience is, but then there's the trauma that you've gone through as you've now discovered, like, holy shit, my wife has this thing. And then later, holy shit, my daughter has this thing, which are two extremely traumatic experiences. Yep. And it's kind of like this helplessness. Right. Like, I want to fix it. And maybe that's part of where this comes from, is I get to fix things or do things. Interesting. So maybe that's, somebody can dive into that. That's great. Did you find that you were aware of that at the time? Did you know, like, I'm tinkering because I'm out of control? I think it took a little bit to get there to kind of realize what I needed to do, because I did pick up golf, like, no, that's not something I want to do because I feel guilty being away for 4 hours, right? And I'm not really enjoying myself because I didn't ever hit flow doing that, like okay. So I think what we need to figure out, let's establish what is electric love. Tell me that, because again, we dove right in. Yeah, so I was building pedals and selling them on Reverb here and there, and it didn't feel good to me. Like, I didn't really get any satisfaction from selling a pedal that I created for me. Yeah. And I kind of got to a point where I wanted to do more with helping like breast cancer charity. So my wife, right after she was diagnosed, after her first surgery, she was asked by Play for Pink, which is a not-for-profit associated with BCRF, Breast Cancer Research Foundation, to be the MC for it was like a Pink Phillies Day at Saratoga, New York track. Okay. And so she was the MC for that, and I could see her giving back. Yeah. And I was like, I want to do something. And this is like, she's MCing mid-diagnosis. So she's like, it was either she was diagnosed in February of 15. It could have been that summer, but it might have been 16 summer. Hold on, that's 9 years ago. Isn't 7 years without is when you're technically like in the clear? I'm saying technically because of course I think so. Right? But she is very. Isn't it 7 though? It's somewhere around there. I think it varies here and there on a number of factors, but she's in a better spot. Yes, 9 years away. She had a double mastectomy and she had reconstruction, and we tried to. She's like, I'm not doing this again. So let's just clean slate it and rip it and grip it. Yeah, which was incredibly powerful to see. Totally. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, just the idea of like being in the midst of it, and now what else to say? Amazing, right? Yep. Just amazing. So you start building pedals. Yep. So I start building pedals. I sell I sell quite a few, here and there. Do some custom things for random people that ask. And then it was just I didn't enjoy that part. I liked building. Yeah. I didn't necessarily enjoy selling some aspect of it I found not appealing. Sure. Well, you started this thing as a passion project, not a business. Now you turn, it's not a hustle. And then it kind of gets ugly. You bastardize it, right? Yeah, and I did that to build more pedals, I guess, because I was kind of like, I want to build. Of course, yeah. You got to fund it. Yep. So how do I fund it? Well, I fund it. Yep. So, yeah. That makes sense. So then I kind of came up with the idea that maybe I could do something breast cancer awareness wise, because there was nothing really in the music market for that. I know there's lots of, charities for any number of things in the music industry, but I wanted to do something, breast cancer specific. Totally. I said, well, let's just try it. So I got a hold of the Play for Pink organization the first year. Yeah. And I think there was some, unsure of what it really was. Sure. But they're like, yeah, no, absolutely. If you donate all the money and you're transparent with it, you can use our name, and you can use our, the pink ribbon logo. Real quick, isn't it funny how people have no idea what guitar pedals are? Mm-hmm. Just like
you have to be a regular player.
Yep. They know what a
Like-
guitar is. Some know what an amp is, but
Right.
after that, it's like, you're talking.
When you talk about
Martian.
like effect pedals, like what are you talking about? What is that? So the idea of being like, I want to raise money through guitar affected pedals, like
Yep, so they're
when
like,
there's this massive niche of players who are totally obsessed
Yep.
with guitar pedals, right? So it's such a funny thing when you get to the outside, you're like, what do you mean you don't speak my language?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of got through that breakdown a little bit of communication, and so I decided, what do I want to do? I was way too adventurous the first time around. I built a 3-pedal series where it was
Okay.
and they were direct clones. There wasn't anything unique about them other than the way it looked.
Yeah.
The way it looked was something I designed,
Sure.
so it was something somewhat unique.
Sure.
I figured, let me see how this works.
What were the first 3?
So it was a overdrive based on, it was the Blues breaker drive.
Yeah.
And then there was a Big Muff 74
Cool.
fuzz, and then a
Yo, this is so wild that you are coming in as a full grown ass adult and just learning about these things.
it's been a very
Because it's such a
interesting
deep
awakening.
dive.
Yeah.
You're talking about since the 50s, 60s for pedals, right? Like, so like coming in as an adult, like there's so much I could learn.
Yeah, and I had to part of it was I wanted to learn about going back, and now there's so much content on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's so much content, like there's great books,
Totally.
so
yeah.
it was just kind of like a
Who
immersion.
Who do you look to? Who are like your pedal heroes, or like, I mean, everybody loves Josh Scott because he's approachable as shit.
Yep.
And kind of a historian, right? So
Yep.
he's got such a unique, like, who do you go to?
I mean, I think, Brian Wampler is
Yep.
certainly somebody that, looking at that time, it was somebody that I really never thought to even approach or I
Sure.
would ever talk to.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
And, there's obviously, Bill Finnegan.
Yep.
There is, the Beatronics guys.
Real quick, is Bill, I mean, we all know the lore around Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bill like someone that's contactable, or is
Not
it just
that- I
your...
would love to contact him just to talk to him because
Yeah.
there's like a funny connection. So my daughter is treated at Boston Children's.
Okay.
He's right in that area.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot the exact.
It's all right. You don't have to give his home address. It's okay.
No, I don't know his home address. Otherwise, I'd be knocking on
He's
it.
in the Boston area.
He's but the town that Boston Children's is in is where he built most of the clones.
Right.
The
I got a
Centaurs.
KTR over here somewhere.
You
Love
have You have the Amazon one too. I saw.
Dude, that one was $40.
Yeah. Oh, I built that. That was the first kit I built.
Yeah.
I built 2 of those.
Yeah. When I got that, it was a pure like, we got to see.
Mm-hmm.
We got to know. Of course, I ordered it up, got it in, did a blindfold, and was like, holy shit, I can't tell.
Yep.
It's so good.
Yep.
Which is infuriating
Yeah,
for $40.
And I did one for one of my friends that he's a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Cool.
So I put Gollum on the front of it where the red light is, and then I
Nice.
put the whatever the script is around the ring, around
Yeah,
the pedal.
yeah.
Gave it to him.
Nice.
And, trying to
That's cool.
have some fun with it.
That's fun. Okay, so you did the first 3. By the way, you mentioned the first 2. So you did the Big Muff, the Blues
Yep.
Breaker, and then the third was...
It was a like deep blue delay.
Okay.
From
Dude, doing the delay in an early series of pedals,
Yep.
it's no joke.
yeah, and it's such a great delay. Just it's a PT 299 or 399 chip
Okay.
delay, but it's extremely clean.
Yeah.
They were fun to build. I built them all by hand, put all the resistors on, all the components, did them
Yeah.
all up. I did if anybody has one, you open it up. I did the wiring in a heart,
Yeah.
so it's
nice.
pretty neat.
That's super cool. So after you got finished with those 3,
Yep.
what's next?
So
Because you said that you would... Okay, sorry, another question. You realized that you were a bit adventurous doing a trio.
Yep.
And so, like, as soon as that sells through, then you're like, oh,
Well, it wasn't quite that simple. I guess,
Sure, never
that
is.
timeline. So I made a trial set of the 3, and I started reaching out to people to see, because I know nothing about the guitar. I still know nothing today, but the guitar industry, the music industry, how it works, who's connected to who's
Sure.
got issues with who, that
Sure.
and that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So I start reaching out to certain companies. Josh, not Josh Scott, but the other, I can't remember Josh's last name, from JHS, emails me back, says, hey, we'd love to do something with you.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
He's in all the shows.
Yeah.
So I'm like, great. Any kind of promotion would be super helpful.
Cool.
Then I start my Instagram page. I had to start a company for this because that was right around the time where Reverb came out with, you have got to fill out this form so you can get a 1099 because, the government wants your money if you sell more than $600 worth of anything in life.
Was it like 2019?
Yep.
Yeah.
20.
Something like 2017, 2019, something like that.
So I was like, well, my goal wasn't to have this affect my finances personally. I wanted to.
Right.
So the only way to do it was to create a company.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but that's what we do. So I do that, create, the Instagram. I'd never been on social media before this.
Okay.
So there's a lot of learning curves, and a lot of kind people out there.
Yeah.
The very first picture I put up, Mike from Pedal of the Day.
Yep.
Just he sends me a message, say, hey, what can I do?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he's like, if you send me them, I'll do a demo.
Yeah.
I'll give you some feedback and then I'll send them back to you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started.
Interesting.
So I think when I launched the very first day, I sold, I think, one set to a friend.
Yeah.
And then it was radio silence for 5 months on Reverb.
Wow.
Which
you're not a known quantity.
I just threw something on Reverb basically.
Yeah,
that is very unique and very
in a sea
pointed.
Of niche, right? So like that's all there is.
Yep.
And suddenly it's not so niche.
Yep. So then October starts rolling around, gets closer. JHS throws just a picture up of a on their Instagram page, and then immediately stuff starts moving. No surprise. Thank you, Josh.
Totally.
And Josh.
Is this like the Rogan effect, the Rogan bump? You go on Joe Rogan, and your career takes a bump.
Yep. So they started picking up, and then some other people.
The JHS bump is real.
And some other people started reaching out and wanted to do a demo and stuff like that. And so I sent some out and sent some around. And at that time, I can I have them back? Yeah. Because I wanted to try to maximize whatever donation I could make.
Totally.
And any small setback was a setback in some form, and everybody was fantastic. They went all around. A couple different people did them, and they were all super great people. Eric Marrow actually bought a set.
Eric's great.
Yep, and he's a great guy and very, very real. Yeah. He actually bought a set and then did a whole demo on them. Nice. Guitar for Idiots. Nice. He did a set. So cool. So they all go around, they do that thing. They don't sell out, but end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month is kind of, everything kind of slows down. Sure. And then it was like,
by the way, what month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
October.
Okay.
So week or two go by, I get a complete random message on Reverb. I think I'm getting punked at one point. It's from Brian Wampler. Nice. I'm like, I know who you are, but I don't, it was just a very surreal moment because, he's one of those people that, I learned how to not solder, but do circuits kind of from his YouTube stuff. I had a Hot Rod Deluxe that he showed you how to build a master volume switch. Right. So, I do that. And then the next thing I know, I'm talking to him. Yeah. And he's like, I'd like to do something. And at that time I didn't know he had done the Underdog pedal. I didn't.
What's the Underdog?
So in 2007-ish, I believe it was, he had a friend who was going through breast cancer, and he built the Underdog pedal and sold it, and all the profits went to help her medical bills. Cool. And then that eventually became part of the Paisley Deluxe.
Oh, wow.
So it's cool. Like it lives on.
Yeah. That's super cool. Paisley Deluxe is fantastic. Yep. Yeah. So, great pedal. Sorry, go on.
So I get the message from him, just floored. Yeah. Right. And then it was like one of those steps, like it was such a big jump. Yeah. Of where I was hoping we would go. Right. And then, we worked through through the year, start getting closer to October this past year of 23, and we get the circuit together, and then he kind of just says, run with it. And he let me ask him any question I want. He was very kind, very easygoing, and he kind of really helped guide how to do something on my own, but with his help.
Sure.
But I was able to work with people. Claudia from Sketchy Pedals was the one who helped design the logo.
Nice.
And the whole front of the Aquatone pedal.
Awesome.
And then, we worked through, built it. I worked with Nate from Sushi Box,
cool.
FX.
Yeah.
Helped, he's a very, very brilliant person to, he helped with the whole layout of the PCB and everything.
Yeah.
And getting it all the way it should be.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Then, it was probably beginning of September is when I got the first prototype done.
Yeah.
Sent it to Brian, made some more tweaks, sent it back to him, and he's like, wow. He's like, you better get ready.
Yeah.
And then, start sending them out to all the demo people. I had reached out to a whole bunch of people, and when you put, Brian's name associated with something,
sure,
people get back to you.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
So, I had all these great, demo people, yeah, we'll do it. I got, Marty Schwartz's people got back to me and said, Marty would love to do one.
Yeah.
Which I was just like, ooh, that's,
yeah.
It's
a big deal.
It's going somewhere now.
Cool. Yeah.
So, we launch it and, it sold out immediately.
Nice.
And then I was like,
what was the quantity on that?
I only had 60 to begin with because,
cool. That's amazing though.
It was, but I was part of it's a little because it's a game, and Brian was very careful because he's been in this industry. He's like, the market's really weird right now. They could either do great or you could sell a few. He's like, don't jump in yet because you can always do a pre-order,
right,
and make up the difference.
Right.
But he's like, the last thing I want you to do is go and stay in the black. I want you to get in the green.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Or red to black, but
that's okay. We understood it. So what happened? I mean, from that point, is it we're going to move on to the next circuit? We're going to try new things. Where are you at with it now?
So part of this too was, it wasn't so much, it was part of it's me making the pedal. I like the building aspect of it, the creativeness,
totally.
But I also wanted to learn.
Yeah.
So now part of it is I want to, I've been trying to learn how circuits work a little more. They're not, A to B, it's A to every other letter and then
X.
to B.
Right.
So it's been a great learning tool too, because I want to create my own stuff eventually, and I want to, build it.
Yeah.
So, but I also recognize that you have to partner with people. A collaboration in this industry is
key.
Is really very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's surprise that if you're a pedal nerd, I think there tends to be a surprise for those who are, pedal purchasers about how much collaboration actually takes place.
And I don't know very much about who collaborates with who, but
sure.
I know who has collaborated in the past, and it's amazing how many people have an influence into
it's common. But there's also so many builders out there like yourself who aren't big machines, right? So it's you. There's a company out of Seattle that I love, Recovery Effects.
Yes.
And that's a husband-wife duo.
Yep.
She was working a full-time job and he was at home making only, right? He's the only one in the studio downstairs building. And it was I remember them talking about it was a big leap for her to leave the job and work with, that's all that was her leaving her job. So that's how slow pedal companies can grow. And so you see collaboration as a necessity to be able to do anything and actually grow your company, because it's not a lot of margin.
No, there's not. And it's a very I don't know, inundated or swamped market.
Sure,
everybody's got a pedal. They're all great. There's so many phenomenal pedals.
Right.
So it's, how can I make mine stand out a little bit to help?
And there's also not a lot of new circuits.
I don't know how many more new circuits can be built. I can't build any.
Here we are, right?
That's right now.
That's it, right? I mean, I think really what we end up seeing is we see things just get weirder, which is not bad at all. I'm totally a proponent of that. I feel like that's the thing I've seen since the pandemic. The pandemic brought so many new boutique companies on, right? Because there were so many folks who decided, nothing else to do, right? I mean, so much of what I do with gear demos and videos came from pandemic as well. I got a lot of time now.
Yep.
And so we saw companies, just boom, right? Absolutely boom. We saw Reverb go crazy with sales because, again, people are buying because they can't leave the house.
Yep.
Anyways, so you see all these pedals that are relatively easy to build start getting built in mass. And then it's well, now what? Well, there's nothing new.
Yep.
So I got to I got to tweak, version A.
Yep.
And by the time you get to version Z, it's such a weird take on whatever. Someone that I love that's constantly pushing the envelope, obviously everyone knows, is Chase Bliss.
Yep.
Those guys are brilliant, and it's
beautiful
just
pedals.
unparalleled.
They sound fantastic.
Eric Nieffler, that's his. The top amp up there and the pedal board down there, those are his designs.
Yep.
And he's their design guy, like he's head of design at Chase Bliss. So the combination of their design plus like what they do as pedals,
they're so complicated.
It's unbelievable,
but they work, but they're simple. Like
they work.
They're unbelievably complicated, but they make it usable.
Totally. Yeah, they could be way more complicated. Yes. You're right. Yeah.
It's like a whole synth thing sometimes going on.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, there's, there aren't, and I guess the point of that is there aren't a ton of companies like Chase Bliss that are completely redeveloping the pedal game, right? Just like guitars have been doing the same thing for the last 70 years, electric guitars, amps as well. Pedals for the most part too, right? We're just kind of repackaging and remaking.
That's really what Aquatone was. I mean, Brian took the blues driver circuit, and I looked at the we worked on the schematics together.
Yeah,
he did all of it, but I got to play along, I guess.
Yeah.
And what it started off and what it ended up they don't look anything the same.
Sure, that's good.
Very,
though.
very unique, and
he
added the whole tone stack in it, and
sweet,
the toggle and everything, and
that's awesome.
And it sounds great.
So, what have you seen as far as like your impact? What's that been like?
It's been very humbling.
Yeah.
And one thing I wasn't really ready for is people's stories. Yeah. So all of a sudden it was, this is my story. And I'm like, oh, that brings it all up again. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So Brian had a connection to it. And so there you see the beginning of, like, there's the first story. Yes. Right? Yep. That's an interesting part. Like, you start seeing the stories roll in. It began with someone else's story, immediately relating to it. Yep. And I remember one woman on Reverb, when I was selling them the first batch, she sent me a message. It was kind of like she didn't really know anything about pedals, and she made that very clear. But she's like, I want to buy a pedal, but I don't know what my boyfriend or fiance has. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Like, if you can take a picture, I can try to help you pick one of these three. Yeah. And she did, and we ended up figuring out that it was she wanted the fuzz pedal, essentially, but he didn't have a fuzz pedal. Yeah. And then she's like, thank you so much. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 3 or 4 months ago, and he's been so supportive. I want to get him something. Wow. So it was like, whoa. Yeah. Really. That's tough. It's home. That's great. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, it was a tough one, but like, it was so rewarding. Yeah. Too. Do you know how she's doing? She's doing great. She sent me a picture. Good. When I sent the pedal out, I sent like a hat and some other stuff, just some fun swag type stuff. Yeah. And she sent me a picture wherever treatment center she was at. When you complete chemo, you ring a bell. Yeah. And so she was ringing the bell with a hat on. Oh, man. So it was like, whoa. I don't want to cry. I know. I still do, Yeah, of course you do. Gosh. So, man, that's cool. I think this is so much more beautiful that it's like you've attached a very specific, very tangible mission. Something that, I have to be careful even talking about it. I love baseball games. And when you go to baseball games, at least the last one I went to, it was super common there was like a moment. Dedication. Where you'd stand up. Oh. Yep. That's about as much as I can say, because I'll get upset, Sure. Because you watch, everybody stands up. Mm-hmm. There's no one seated. Yep. And it's all cancer. And it's, it's such a heartbreak. So yeah, to be able to do something that you love and attach it to a mission, of course, this is driven by this community, right? Of course, there's all these stories attached to it. I love that you remember the specific stories too. That's amazing. Yeah, no, you don't forget too many. How do you forget those, right? Yep. Yeah, of course, they impact you in a beautiful way. Yeah, no, it's reaffirming as difficult as it is. It's very important for me to thank you for sharing your story. Yeah. And then, try to, answer their question or do whatever I can do to brighten their day, I guess, a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So tell me, we've talked about Aquatone. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Aquatone. What is it? Tell me. Give me the... So it's a blues driver with a 3 EQ band, and then it's got a low gain, like a normal setting. Yeah. And then it's got a high gain setting. Okay. So sweet. So blues driver with a low gain and high gain. And the 3-band EQ.
Oh, and the 3-band EQ, my bad.
Which is really crazy when and it's active. So it's not like a passive EQ. So when you drop the bass, it sounds great with a bass guitar.
Cool.
And you can scoop the mids right out. You can bring them way up. You can do all kinds of tweaks. Brian did a great how-to demo. Josh and his crew over at JHS did a video. It was underrated pedals of 2023.
Cool.
I made that list, and that exploded again. And
nice.
So
That's awesome.
It's been very good, and I'm doing another run of them coming up. So
cool. Are you going to stay with Aquatone, or are you going to move on to a new circuit? What are you thinking?
Well, I think it's if anything, I've learned you got to continue to do something.
Yeah.
Because unless, again, you're Bill Finnegan making the Klon.
Sure.
The one pedal's not gonna, and part of my goal is to grow and collaborate with other people.
Sure.
and to raise money for breast cancer awareness.
Cool.
Or research.
Right.
And raise awareness. So,
So pie in the sky, if you could next circuit with anybody, who'd it be?
I'd like to, there's so many great companies, Earthquaker would be an awesome one to work with, Walrus, Beatronics is coming out with a ton of crazy stuff, and
Dude,
I love their artwork.
I've got some Beatronics.
And they're just very
Those
unique.
Guys are awesome. They're in general, those guys, that team.
I mean, there's so many,
awesome.
Like you said, Bliss would be a phenomenal one. I'd love to go knocking on Bill Finnegan's door as much as he's what he does is what he does, but there's any number of companies I would
So the first one you mentioned is Earthquaker.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the first one? Is that number one? It's okay if it is.
I'd like, I love their stuff. Their, logos are great. The artwork is fantastic. It's simplistic yet completely complicated in what they do, with all the, the repeating, it reminds me of like the swirls and it's visually very pleasing.
Yeah. You want to ask?
Well, if Earthquaker would love to, I'd love to do something with you guys. And,
please. Yeah.
You know how to get a hold of me.
Or we'll reach out to you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
Reached out to them.
Great. Yeah, I hope that works out. Please, Earthquaker. We'd love that. Yep. Yeah, that would be amazing. I'd love to see the same thing happen. That would be so rad.
So kind of moving forward, well, Aquatone so far this year, I've sold almost 200.
Awesome.
That I've built myself, shipped out myself.
Yeah.
End of December, I was able to donate $15,000.
Amazing.
And that was saving money in case, because it's a company, so I have to pay taxes.
Of course.
If I don't pay taxes, that's going to be a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Right.
So I'm getting it ready for another run, and
But dude, $15K is crazy.
Yeah. The first year was only like $2,500.
Yeah.
So just and a lot of that's obviously thanks to Brian.
Did you hear that, Earthquaker? $15K.
Yep.
It's a lot of zeros.
Yep. And goodwill.
Oh my goodness, for real. A lot of commas for goodwill.
Yes.
Go on.
It's just continuing to grow it and kind of, and part of it is, we've seen time and time again, the limited runs, well, every pedal is technically a limited run. Those draw attention,
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Everyone wants something limited.
And
right.
I won't make the Aquatone maybe past this year because there is something to be said for continuing to move forward.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Or in conjunction with or whatever. Yeah, I can see that. I think that was where my mind went. I just assumed you would do, because I remember them being limited. Mm-hmm. I just assumed it would be like, this is the year 1 pedal, this is the year 2 pedal.
And that's kind of how I've done it. I haven't made any more of the first. I sold some of I was able to sell off all the old ones this last go around when Aquatone was released. I had a bunch left, and people loved them because they were, I'm sure, a lot cheaper. They were cheaper than the other ones.
Yeah.
But they all went, so that was great.
Yeah. So again, let's go back again a little bit. If you could build another one, and it was with Earthquaker, like, would you want to stay in the kind of overdrive distortion realm, drive realm? Do something weird?
One of the things that kind of frustrated me with Aquatone was my lack of any knowledge. Well, not lack of any knowledge, but a much more redacted knowledge of circuits.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I started pushing myself to do was start breadboarding.
Cool.
So I got, all the breadboarding stuff. Brian was very helpful and, get this,
yeah.
and then run with it.
Cool.
And so I've started breadboarding circuits. I've got a circuit started.
Yeah.
That is it's a unique circuit from another age that hasn't really made any mass market thing.
Yeah.
That I want to continue to adapt to, something current. And that's where I can breadboard it and it plays great through the breadboard, but now I got to start experimenting with how I want to make it my own.
Nice.
And that's really where, working with a company, that is fluent in that language really helps me progress.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Sweet. I hope Earthquaker answers.
Or any number one of you fine pedal companies out there.
Yeah. I could totally see.
There's a lot of very kind people. And part of my thing too is I still am basically, nobody. And that's fine. I don't expect to be somebody overnight or ever for that matter. But when you approach other people, you're just another name to them. And, it's hard to translate in what I'm doing. And my whole business model doesn't make sense. I give away all the profits.
Yeah.
I don't take a salary. I make no money.
Yeah.
I donate all my time and everything to make this successful.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a zero sum, negative sum business model.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's strange. There's not a better word for it because it's definitely
and to me,
unlike.
That's where I get my solace from. That's where I'm able to kind of, level out, is because I know I've done something.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like that.
It's not about me.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Dude, thanks so much for coming in and talking about this.
No, thank you for your time.
Totally,
I was very excited and, very, humbled.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we wrap up, tell me again about your dad's 71 Les Paul Custom.
He had a 74.
74?
He has a 74, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very unique guitar. It's got, the phase switches.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the first guitars I played ever.
Yeah.
And not realizing what it was,
Yeah.
I definitely took that for granted.
Yeah. And you're hoping that'll be in the inheritance one day.
We'll see. Hopefully it's not for a long time.
No, totally. Rather have dad than the guitar.
There you go.
All day long. Absolutely. Dude, I'm still kind of flabbergasted by having not grown up into it. That's still, I mean,
I loved music growing up. I grew up in the whole, and it was it was the whole '90s era. I think one of my first CDs was Bush. It was Bush. It was Offspring. Nirvana. That's where I started getting into my actual music.
Nice.
And then, growing up, we listened to a lot of Beatles. I eventually found Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and when Bob Dylan was the first concert I went to.
Wow,
it was Bob Dylan and Phil Lesh and Friends.
Yeah, wow,
it was the old Grateful Dead crew.
Pretty amazing.
So it's kind of a
it's a great first.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a bar to start.
Just yeah, and you can actually understand Dylan
at the time. Yeah.
Well, I think you still can, but
yeah, he's Dylan. What else did you say? Dude, and again, thanks so much for coming out. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can find Electric Love.
Sure. So the best place to check it out or get information is electriclovefx.com.
Sweet.
Or Instagram at electriclovefx.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Cameron.
Totally.